Hello,
Hi,
TMG podcast.
Yo.
we're back.
All about REV Majors.
REV Majors.
That's what's going to be focused right now. Pretty cool stuff. Ooh, we all joined day 1, day 2.
Well, we didn't join, but we did attend both days.
No, we didn't join per se. We attend. Yeah, the best word is attend. This is Carlos. With me is Miggy.
Hi.
And Matthew is with us.
Hello. I wouldn't say we attended. I say we professionally spectated.
Yes,
Professionally
professionally spectating while calling out the most wrong fighting game lingo.
Yes. We professionally spectated, professionally ate, and professionally took the seats.
Well, we were standing for the most part, so I wouldn't say we took the seats.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that's a good thing if you think about it, especially day 2, where it is to a point where there's no place to sit.
I mean, it's cool, but like I couldn't feel my legs anymore after that.
Oh man, when we went for a burger and we sat down, it was like zen. I mean, it was like complete zen the moment I sat down. It was like, because that last, well, we'll talk about the top 8 of Tekken in a bit, but that's top 8's the reason why my legs were just complete mush at the end of the day. I was jumping around, excitement all over, and I don't know, REV Majors 2017, probably one of the biggest fighting game tournaments that happen in the Philippines.
So far.
A lot of good stuff. Let's talk about day 1 first, and I think that's gonna be me and Matthew talking about this one because that's when we attended.
I was there, man. Come on, I caught the games.
Oh, I totally forgot. I didn't see you.
I missed you guys because I came in late, so you guys
came in
have
late.
already headed home at the time.
That's right.
But I caught the later half of the day, but you guys started off since you were there earlier.
Oh, then that's actually pretty perfect because you would like, I want to hear your thoughts on the later part of day 1 because day 1 had some games done during that day.
They had a lot of games done. They had side tournaments for Injustice 2, for Guilty Gear, for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I even think they ran a few like anime games on the side, like not part of the the tournaments itself.
They had Guilty Gear. They had Guilty Gear Revelator 2. I have to double check on that one.
Yes, the current
they have Rev
the
2.
current build release.
Second Rev or something.
Smash 4
Yeah.
also was a part of the tournament. Street Fighter 5 pools were happening on the side.
Yep, Smash 4 was there. But more context though, REV Majors is a major tournament that has pretty much a series of fighting game games featured with their own tournaments.
Oh, but the primary tournament for REV Major is for the Tekken World Cup.
Tekken World Tour, rather.
Tekken World
And
Tour,
it's a master event. I think it's a master type tournament. And we had international players, pro players coming over to compete. And we're talking about like players from Korea, Japan,
Thailand,
well-known
also.
professional players. Thailand even, yeah. I think there was a Malaysian one. Correct me if I'm wrong. But we had like, names like Ni, Saint, Ecofox Saint.
Yeah, Saint and
and all that.
JDCR came back.
Yep, they all came back.
They were here for Rage Arts, the tournament at PlayBook that happened for the launch of Tekken 7.
And we had like a lot of international support, meaning we had some commentators coming over to grace us with their presence and actually pretty much hype up the event.
Yes, we had Tasty Steve and Markman,
Yep.
formerly of Mad Cats, as well as Giuna, who translates, I think, Daigo's Japanese streams.
And we also had Spooky, but he's actually more of a local now because he actually lives in the Philippines. But
Yeah,
we
he
had Team
works here
Spooky
now.
also over. Yeah, he pretty much works here. But yeah, it's all around hyped event organized by PlayBook. All organized by PlayBook at Makati Circuit. That venue for REV Majors was actually, it worked, which is like the best way I can describe that venue. As much as it was bigger than Rage Art.
Yeah, they ran a tournament at the Power Mac
Yes.
Spotlight Center in Circuit Makati Ayala Malls, which is kind of like a small auditorium with a big screen at the end.
Yeah, and the reason why I mentioned it worked because it was packed. It was completely packed, but I needed to wear a jacket. Like, as much as...
Oh yes, thank goodness for air conditioning.
Yes,
Finally.
because in tournaments, in fighting game tournaments, or just crowded areas, like, the last thing you want is people, or especially the ones who compete, to actually fight against heat and being this uncomfortable, losing focus in general. And then the Power Mac Center Spotlight, did wonders because it was so packed. I still needed my jacket because it was really, really cold. And it was a perfect venue. It's a perfect venue for a big event like this. And props to PlayBook for actually making the transition to use that specific event or that specific venue. But going back to day one though, it was pretty straightforward, bro. You think, Matthew? Like it was pretty much just like a slew of players just going through the usual pools, going through the tournament. And I think the biggest highlight though that started the tournament, the start of the event, was we did have a senator show up at REV Major, which is Senator Bam Aquino, who pretty much played an exhibition match with in Tekken 7, and
was he any good?
It was okay. It was pretty cool to have that little gimmick of theirs.
I was able to catch footage of him playing, and like he basically plays it like Tekken 3 back in the day. You know, like
what does that mean?
He doesn't know how to combo, but he has the game sense to know like what's a low attack, what's a high attack. Then he can do the law flip kicks, like the double flip kick. So it's like how you would play Tekken 3 when you were like a grade schooler or a high schooler. It's pretty cool.
I just like the fact that he actually had that kind of REV Major, or rather the fighting game community had that kind of support with Bam Aquino, because Bam Aquino's being I'm knowing him now as the person that is to fully support like the local esports community in terms of like competing.
Yeah, he's one of the senators who is actually pushing for our internet to get better.
Oh, thank God.
And that's okay in my book.
Yeah, it's okay in my book as well. But yeah, we had that, and then pool started for pretty much all the games, and it was pretty cool. It was a cool, simple setup. It seemed like I didn't hear any issue in day one. It seemed like everything was in order in terms of organization and managing the tournaments and everything. And we're talking about like multiple tournaments happening all at once in one spot, and we're having like live commentary for each game and everything. It was actually pretty cool. What did you think about Matthew on day one? You actually were the first one to actually hit the scene, because I was late.
Yeah, the energy was really, really, really good that day. I'll have to be, honest with our audience right now, with our listeners right now. I haven't really gone out to watch like competitive gaming, not since like the late 90s. Which, by the way, dates me. And, yeah, but the energy was really good. I couldn't help but get swept up with all the emotions. Now, I just started getting back into fighting games with Injustice 2, so I wasn't really well-versed with all the technicalities,
right.
But the commentary provided by Tasty and Markman and the other guys, who are the other commentators? They really did a good job of keeping people informed on what's going on, what the meaning of each move was, and what the stakes were for every player involved, and it was great. I think I'm gonna be spoiled now because you describe this like as a great venue, as a well executed event on the behalf of PlayBook, with like top fighters from all corners of the world, and
right.
you have great commentators, and as far as I can tell, last month's like Rage Heart was no slouch, but it was also like a sweat box. So now I don't know how I'm going to go to any other.
Yeah, it really was. I like I'm sure it was a miscalculation on their part. It was just
definitely.
too many people.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing. Like that's the reason why I mentioned the aircon, or that feeling in the venue, because I've competed before and it can be an issue for players. So because like the last thing you want is you're being nervous or anything, and then you're sweating, and then you're feeling hot, and then you feel sticky. You don't feel comfortable.
You don't want to be wiggling those sticks and jamming those buttons when you feel a compulsion to scratch the side of your shirt from sweat.
Yeah, and then even when you're going through pools, you have to go through, like, you're gonna be like pretty much sandwiched with other players because they're all trying to squeeze in everybody.
That's right.
Trying to compete. So it's like the last thing you want is to feel the players uncomfortable. Like, let them focus on the game. Let them get through the pools. And for REV Majors, based on just walking around and seeing what was going on, in my eyes, there was no issue in that sense.
Yeah, it's accepted rule of thumb in in any competitive event, especially in sports or in cyber sports or whatever, you got to eliminate all like as many intervening factors as possible, weather and all sorts of other things to ensure that the competition is as narrow as it can be.
Right.
To ensure that it's all about the game and the skill.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it was just it was pretty cool. Miggy, what about you? You went on the later part of day one. What did you see? Because I think me and Matthew left around the evening around 5, but they were still ongoing.
I was there around 4:30, I think, or maybe 5.
Right.
Because I had a prior engagement, but I was able to get out of that pretty early and I'm in Makati already because that's where they dropped us off. And I could make it to REV Majors. So I got there. Tekken pools were on the big screen for the entire day, which kind of bummed me out because I wanted to see top 4 of the side tournaments on the big screen.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of Tekken pools, so that went on for the entire day. Side tournaments were on this literally on the left side of the venue.
Right.
They streamed it on the PlayBook Twitch page, so I have to catch up on those afterwards, but I couldn't spectate because, of course, the players were there, the audience for those tournaments was there, and people who were watching the big screen were also behind them, so I couldn't go watch the side tournaments even if I had tried. But that was cool. They finished off a lot of the games there, and then the awarding did happen on stage.
Right.
So I think Injustice 2, Marvel 3 finished up. I think Guilty Gear also was awarded on stage on day 1.
Yeah, Guilty Gear was awarded on day 1. Yeah, and I believe in day 2, the thing that we're focused on and that we're awarded was in, I think day 2 started with Super Smash Bros.
Yeah,
top 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, top 4, and then
Street Fighter
awarding
5
happened
after that.
there. The next was Street Fighter 5,
Yeah.
top 4. No, actually, no. Street Fighter 5 went through top 8, actually.
Top 8, yes.
They had top 8 on day 2. And then after Street Fighter 5, we
Tekken
had
top 16.
Tekken
But that's for day
7.
2.
That was for day 2, yeah.
For day 1, I got, sadly, I witnessed AK's loser bracket elimination on stream, on the big screen.
On stream? Oh,
Yeah.
really?
It was I don't know what happened. He had really sloppy play, and I think he really, beat himself up about that because we saw him crying at the
against someone
side
known?
of the event. I forget who. I think it was someone who made it to top 16. A lot of familiar names that I saw during day
Right.
1 were in top 16. A lot of them were foreigners too.
Yeah, I apologize if we don't remember the specific name, but I did remember people saying that, because when I arrived at day 2, I wasn't, because at the end of Saturday, I wasn't aware of the results yet. I pretty much found out the moment I arrived at day 2 at the event, at the venue. And then I got shocked as well because when I started talking to the owner, Big Boss Richard Rohan, he told me that AK didn't make it through pools, didn't make it to top 16. I'm like, shit, are you serious?
Yeah, man. It was kind of sad because it felt like we weren't watching AK. I don't know what happened. Maybe nerves, maybe out of practice, or he just couldn't read his opponent.
Well, it's just, in the end of the day, yeah, it's like Tekken 7 is...
It happens.
It can happen. And Tekken 7 is literally it's a new game. And there's a slew of
new
killers.
mechanics.
There's a slew of killers
Oh, yes.
in this tournament.
And foreign players were pretty tough.
Yeah, we're talking about... We're talking... Because the Filipino crowd, the Filipino talent in itself is already a tough pool to be in. What more if you're adding in Korean talent, Japanese talent, really godlike talent, actually. We're talking about, Lee and everything.
Top players, both new and old.
New and old, so
from,
it's really crazy.
Nii was from Tekken 5, I think Nii is known for.
Yeah.
The man who invented the taunt jet upper setups for Brian Fury.
Well,
So yeah, some big killers.
was there anything
Definitely.
significant on the first day as well? Towards the end that you noticed?
I did like the setup for day 1,
Right.
in terms of the event, because they did change it up for day 2. The tables were aligned, were rowed, how do you call that? Not vertically, but straight.
Yeah.
They were made
to the
into
stage.
rows, rows oriented towards the stage, which made traversal around the area problematic,
Right.
as well as viewing and viewing also.
No, viewing, I think it was alright, because for a major tournament, there was surprisingly a lot of leg room. And because of the big screen, you can see the screen at any point inside the Power Max Spotlight Center, which usually in a fighting tournament, that's the problem. Like, you can't see the big screen because of all the people.
Well, maybe it was more convenient towards the end of the day because it felt a little bit harder compared to like when I was there at like 1 or 2 or 3. It felt packed. Like even when you enter the venue, you see the big screen, but there were heads, so you had to at least tiptoe a bit to see the big screen because it was really packed.
Yeah, but
it kind of makes sense.
They were having pools for various games during day one, so that's why the tables were all there with like multiple PS4 set up. I do like
day one in the early afternoon.
Yeah, I do like how they arrange the tables. How it like the closer you get to the center, the longer the tables become.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So like when you go to the sides, there's more space because it kind of like makes a V shape.
Right.
And I think that was a pretty convenient setup. Come day 2, most of those tables are gone.
Yep.
And you get like what do you call that?
You get an actual like stage. It's a stage setup, really.
Yeah, like the chairs for a stage.
Yeah, it's really interesting because they got bleachers. They got bleachers brought in.
Bleachers.
They got bleachers brought in, which kind of surprised me and made me think, oh, that's true. Pools are done. Most of the games. Some of the games were done from the first day 1. We're talking about just 3 more games to focus on day 2, and a small amount of players left, and all can be shown in the main stage. There's no need to have side matches. So bring in more chairs, bring in more bleachers, bring in more chairs and everything for people to literally just watch, and that's what it was in the day 2.
For finals, yeah, that's a perfect like setup for that because you're just going to be watching for the whole day.
Yeah.
They did still have some consoles on the side for like casuals and whatever side tournaments the players want to do.
Just for kicks lang in the corner.
And there were still a lot of people playing. Like people just weren't leaving that area also. But you had
leaving there.
You had a bleacher in the back and then just open stage up front, so people were just like sitting down on the floor to watch.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people also for day 2.
It was a lot of people. Okay, in day 2, we were all present. We all showed up and checked it out. I saw Smash, pretty cool stuff. Decent stuff. Street Fighter 5 was a little bit interesting. A lot of killers on that list of players. But the one thing that I want to highlight is the fact that the one who made second in Street Fighter 5 was a Thailand player that no one knew was really good in Street Fighter 5. At least. I did not expect him to go that strong. And what was cool about him was he came in
to play
as
Tekken.
A Thailand player to play Tekken 7. And he made top 16. So he was going for top 8 in Street Fighter 5, and then after that, he will have to start working with a series of killers in the top 16 of Tekken 7.
From out of nowhere. Like he used the battle tag book. Like I also haven't heard of this player prior. But yeah, he came for Tekken 7.
Literally how you spell book.
He came for Tekken 7. Yeah. And like he signed up for Street Fighter 5 because I guess he also plays it, and like it was cheap to sign up, right?
Yeah. Which really good Ken.
Yeah.
He's a really good Ken.
And he managed to reach top 2 in Street Fighter 5. Surprisingly. And like, he was pretty sick.
What if he had gone into the unlikely situation of placing so highly in both games that he ended up having to like play both of them?
No, I think they
because he was ninth.
I think they made
ninth
it so if he had games like if he had a pool game for Tekken and Street Fighter, they can bump him to a different schedule for either game because it's pools.
Yeah, because there are players
you can.
No, it's
pools. That's right. Yeah,
and there have been a lot of players that actually played multiple games during pool sessions. Yeah, and usually just like how the setup was in Rev, you're not having top 8 and top 8 of 2 games.
Running parallel. Parallel. Yeah.
So let's assume that Book is an amazing gamer, amazing talent. He joined every single game and he's top 8 in all.
Man,
he'll have time to go through all. I believe he has time to go through all.
At the expense of his own sanity.
If that either that or he gets like a bye and gets thrown to losers bracket because it's double elimination for all the games.
But my last point though with the Street Fighter 5 was this guy literally. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I did watch a match between Book and PBE Bully. I don't know the bracket system, but he was in pools. He lost against PBE Bully in pools. And PBE Bully, he's a really good player. He's a birdie player. Is not in top 8. So he eventually didn't make it. So I am assuming that Book literally fought his way to second place in the loser's bracket all the way, which is really, nerve-wracking if you've competed before.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And then it's pretty cool. Like, Book, Street Fighter 5, that's the biggest highlight for me at least. And then, of course, top 16. It's the biggest main event, Tekken 7. Right after SF5, they go straight to it. They have this whole big announcement of like introducing each and every person from top in the top 16 for Tekken 7. At this point, it was mostly international players already. And we only had 4 Filipino or local players that made it in top 16. Legion Prime, PBE Maru, PBE Dojin, and I think I'm missing one more. But
Legion Noah Little.
Legion, sorry.
Noah Little.
Noah Little. There you go. Another Legion player. And everybody else was just international. Everybody else was just killers. Literally killers. Oh, and Book's there. Book's also there, of course. Book's is always around.
The one man representing Thailand.
Pretty much.
Representing all
the entirety of Thailand.
But yeah, that's when when top 16 started. That's when everybody started like piling in. People were getting were piling up, watching the show. Man, that was really exciting. I mean, just talk. Let's just from 16 all the way to 1, all the matches. Oh my god, I think I kind of want to at least learn Tekken 7 at this point. It was just so entertaining. I mean, even what about you, Matthew? Because you're a person who just started with the fighting game. Just being introduced to fighting games and being introduced even to the competitive side. And then what was your feeling, experiencing top 16 in this level?
So it was so exciting. One of the great things about fighting games, as I was telling you last night, was that out of all the competitive video game genres out there, like fighting games are the ones that are most like, they can be deciphered by the untrained eye, at least in a very accessible way. So even if you don't know the technicalities of a wake up or a bounce or pluses on blocks and whatever, there's just something so like immediately exciting even without that kind of information. And everybody in the Tekken 7 like World Tour portion of REV Major like really brought like a lot of excitement. Like I found myself like being completely uneducated about Tekken, not since like I think Tekken 2 was the last one I played.
Wow.
And like just like fanning myself going crazy.
No, I think fighting games as a spectator sport is a lot easier to digest than, say, like a MOBA, if you like having no prior knowledge to the game. Yeah. Because it's 2 people beating each other up until the life bar drains, Like, how hard is that to understand?
Pretty much. Face, fist to face, It's very simple.
Face to foot style.
Yeah, I mean, like, we don't, as ordinary mere mortals, we don't, we're trapped in flesh and blood of, like, arms and legs and heads. Like, we don't know what it's like to command a battlefield. We don't all know what it's like to, like, to have that tactical experience or to, like, manage, like, economies and stuff like that. But when it comes to, like, fighting games, we know, like, the visceral intensity of, like, punching another person or trying to hurt another person to some degree, and it's that's what makes the genre so like relatable.
Which is weird to me to why it was so like it's growing in terms of like how events like these for fighting game tournaments are now. It's slowly growing. SF5 it showed that growth slowly growing, and Tekken 7 it's only getting even better, right? Everybody is enjoying it. People want to watch it. People want to invest in it.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised that the fighting games or in esports with fighting games is it's only picking up now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotta ask you about that. Like, what are your theories behind that? Because even before I started talking to you guys about these things, like, I've been ever since I picked up Injustice 2, I've been trying to watch a lot of like the history of fighting games and the culture of fighting games. Like all these great YouTube channels talking about like fighting games, and like they keep referring to this whole thing about how fighting games aren't as a genre aren't like really taking off as an esport in the way that StarCraft did in the late 90s. Like, why is that? Well, that makes no sense to me. Like, it's such an obvious esport. So, what's your theory, Carlos? Like, what's been holding it back?
Honestly, it's really hard to I've been thinking about it for the longest time, and we're talking about MOBAs and StarCraft 2 being like the prime, of course, rather StarCraft being the prime, esports game way back, or even like Quake, and all that. I'd like to think the only, well, correct me if I'm wrong, for whoever's listening, and you guys, you let me know, but I think the only factor that separates fighting games and other esports like games are the fact that the ones that got famous are the online games. Meaning you can compete or play against other people online, and I guess the community got bigger and the community grew online. Whereas in fighting games, this is my opinion, okay, it's all small communities from different countries gathering together, making small tournaments for themselves, for like here in the Philippines, for here in US, up north, up south, whatever, Japan and all that. It's all small mini communities. Whereas, for example, StarCraft, they're in BattleNet. You see the big numbers. You see how much people want to watch, want to play it, and then that gives. I'd like to think that's an easier way to sell, like, or I don't know. That's how I'm thinking, rather.
No, I think there's merit to what you're saying. I think you're saying that, for example, if since so much of StarCraft and MOBAs and many other games, like their cultures and communities evolve online, and by evolving online, the companies that control these games have a direct access to the data. They have all the access to the numbers. It's just so visible for them that they look at it and say, yep, we're going to support this. Yep, we're going to shout out the money. We're going to talk to some people and make this a thing. Whereas, fighting games, like, internet play has been available for a very, very long time. But, so much of the fighting game community and culture, as far as I can tell, correct me if I'm wrong, is so much of it is about intimacy. Like, even just the way that when so many fighting game tournaments are about the players being next to each other. So much fighting game culture is about the players meeting each other in like the real world. And everybody from Manila to Shanghai or to Hong Kong can say, well, there's a strong fighting game culture here, testifying for their own country. But that's just how should I say it? That's just an apocryphal statement when it's not backed up by data, at least as far as the companies are concerned. They'll just have to take their word for it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
what about you, Miggy? What is your thoughts? Because like, I like to think that, again, like just putting it there, I like to think fighting games would be would make sense if it was one of the first, but it really wasn't one of the first. Why do you think?
I'd like to think it's the accessibility of fighting games now.
Okay.
Because like it's you guys can tell that fighting games are getting like easier to play, like not
right.
at the at a competitive level, but like as far as breaking the first wall and like learning how to do a combo. Like the buffer windows for Tekken 7 combos are pretty easy to pick up and master. Like even Street Fighter 5, it's not that hard to link like 2 crouching mediums anymore as it was in Street Fighter 4.
That's true.
And like you said, the online thing is also a big aspect. But I also think it's because most of these fighting games now are coming out on PC as well. Like usually the barrier, like the window to break, the barrier to break to get into a fighting game is a console. But now that it's on PC, which is what most people have, and it's on Steam, which has sales like left and right, I think that's like, because I've noticed a lot of new players for Tekken 7 who have never played Tekken ever, and I'm just like, like not even Tekken 3 or Tekken 5, and like, no, this is my first Tekken game.
That's true.
That's me. That's me.
No, that's a very, very fair point, because we're talking about fighting games. Like the origins of fighting games are literally in the arcades.
That's right. I was
You
going to
have
pick
to
that up.
go
Yeah.
there. Yeah, you have to go there. Whereas League of Legends, we're talking about StarCraft, we're talking about, well, I guess Quake as well, because that's PC. You need to own a PC. And we're talking about, and if we're gonna go like to the Philippines, we have like internet cafes for days before when Dota came out, like, so there's easy accessibility with these those specific games. Arcade games, yeah, I think you're right. You have a fair point. It wasn't accessible then, and it was console exclusive, arcade exclusive at times with specific games. And yeah, now we're seeing, like, for example, Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5 at a PC release. Fair point.
And it's also like the controllers for it. Like, you can pop almost any arcade stick or controller into PC, and like, especially
It's
with
easier
Steam's
compatibility,
controller
yeah.
access now, it just works.
Yep.
And like, usually, like, at least for most of the arcade sticks out now, they tend, like, if they work on a console, they also would probably automatically work on PC because of the USB input.
Yeah, because USB, console inputs weren't USB back in the day of PlayStation
Yep.
1 and PlayStation 2.
So there's that. I think it's very accessible now to play the fighting games. And, remember when these games were announced that they were all going to run on, like, the new Unreal Engine?
Yeah.
And what we immediately thought was, oh, yo, PC release, easy. And we're really seeing that. And I honestly think just because it's on PC, it gives it a lot of access to a lot of people almost instantly.
I mean, at the very least, these games being on the PC allow, like, PC quote unquote noobs to, like, get their feet wet, a little bit, and generate the interest such that they will start trying to explore the games, like, on other platforms or other mediums. Like, which owner of a PC wants to publicly go out there to the arcade and shame themselves, if they can't, like, play and embarrass themselves in private.
Yeah.
That's true.
Plus,
That's true.
there's also the internet to teach you how to execute stuff in a fighting game now, so it's also a lot easier to learn.
That's right. All the YouTube's tutorials.
Yeah, there's more information that you can gather to actually, quote unquote, train or practice to actually be a better player. That's true. That's very true, and I think we're seeing the fruits of actually, those kinds of decisions being made with the new games, being accessible in PC, having online, and then more compatibility, more access, because REV Major...
And better tutorials in the game,
better
too.
tutorials, and I don't know, and then the fact that we have live streaming, everything and that goes with it, that goes with these kinds of events nowadays, fighting games are going up, especially with REV Major, especially here in the Philippines. REV Major shows it completely. Rage Art was already an indication already. REV Major just went even higher, because the turnout, the talent here in the Philippines, and the interest to invest these in when it comes to business, to invest is also there. And yeah, again, our talent, we're up there. We can even go against the Tekken gods, Tekken pro players. And it was really entertaining, and the whole world was watching, and I think everybody that loves fighting games were tuned in at REV Majors last weekend, and they just had a lot of fun, and I think we're still feeling it, because it was just yesterday for us, based on this recording, and even at the same time, the biggest, like, when I saw the prize pool, or rather the earnings for even all the games, I was surprised. I have a list here. Like this, it's...
Oh yeah.
For one,
Oh yeah.
Tekken 7 obviously was the main event. It was pretty much the biggest one. And based on my information, JDCR went home with 200,000 pesos, aka 4,000 US dollars.
Nice.
Then followed by 100K, 75K. Point is, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And the lesser tournaments, they were also pretty high already. Like in Street Fighter 5, shout outs to Yoshi of IPT who took it, went home with 17K, and that's really unheard of, because usually we're talking about like events that usually before we had bigger tournaments that only like if you won you would only earn like what 5,000 to 2,000. Like what can you do with that? Now we're talking about like Super Smash Brothers with 12K, Injustice with 8. Like it's small, but it's still a sizable amount compared to before.
Compared to how it was before.
And that's another indication how it's growing, because there's like, I don't know, it's just up to this point, it's gonna be even more exciting. What about you, Miggy? Do you sense the increase in all games, in all communities in the fighting game? New players here and there?
Well, we didn't get to participate, but I did see a lot of old friends at the tournaments, like during REV Major, like from various fighting game communities, and it was really refreshing to see them again. And even if like some of them don't like Tekken as their main fighting game, I mean, them showing up even just for casuals for day 2, which was supposed to be finals day for spectating, like there were still people playing casuals on the side, and that's showing support for the event, because because of the new venue, the Power Max Spotlight Center, you needed to buy a ticket to get in.
Yeah, this was actually
because I think it could only hold a limited number of people, or else it like becomes a fire hazard or something, I guess. But yeah, like the simple fact of being there is showing support for the scene.
Yeah,
and even though it's not your game, there's that. And of course, the international guests and them being like well-known guests is also a huge sign that it's getting bigger. And added to that, they streamed the entire REV Major on the Tekken Twitch page, like twitch.tv/Tekken. Yeah, it's official.
Yeah, this ain't no side tournament or anything like that. This is something that is officially recognized as core enough to be part of like the Tekken, social media
or
identity.
Tekken World Tour, because like when they were like ending their final thoughts on REV Majors, they were saying, REV Major was awesome. We have another big event happening, which is Evo next week. Check that out. I mean, I'd like to think that's where we're at. Like, it's a major tournament. It's like we're in line with like Evo, CEO, all that stuff. Rev is at that level. I felt it, and I think it will only get any higher, because like we were in the Tekken Twitch channel. We're tuned in. Even international players that weren't Tekken 7 players were watching. Like I even saw like Justin Wong was watching, even from what I remember, just saying how hype it was. So everybody was watching. They saw the Filipino talent. They saw the hype, which there again I want to talk about the hype, because we were all there in support, and despite us losing, I think our last Filipino player, I forgot where it was. I think it was 9th place in the end.
Yeah,
but he didn't make it. We didn't have any. We didn't have any top 8.
No Filipinos in top 8.
We lost Dojin.
We didn't have. We lost PBE Dojin, which was
top 8 was basically Japan versus Korea.
Yeah, we lost PBE Dojin, which was 2nd place in Rage Art. We lost him at 9th place. He was barely there to make it top 8, and I think sad to say, I think he was really sad in that loss, because he went straight to the locker room right after, and he's still a kid. He's still a young guy, and his parents were there. His parents were there to support him, and I was there in the side of the stage when he rushed into the backstage, and the parents went up there to go to where he went, and he came out okay, but it's sad to see him go, but he wanted that. You can tell that he wanted it. He did his all for it, and he did a great job at reaching at this point. And despite us losing our last Filipino player, I think the crowd just got even wilder once we hit top 8, and we were just cheering them on. We were cheering the Koreans, we were cheering the Japanese, we were cheering everybody that was left in the tournament, It was really hype. I think the commentators, Tasty Steve felt it.
Really
He was
hype.
jumping up left and right, saying the most hilarious things.
No, man.
He was.
Come like, was it just like winners finals alone, and then because it was Knee versus JDCR for winners finals, and even before that, just having the two players' names be on there, like Markman was saying, this is the next Dragon Ball movie right here. We got two gods about to face off, and like from then onwards, I mean, like the top 8 itself was already super hype, but then come like winners finals onwards, you can tell like Stacy Steve and Markman like going quiet for a few seconds just because of how intense the matches were going. Like they're doing their best to commentate, and it was stellar, but like
I remember
quiet.
it was we were at like what I think we were at like winners finals. I think was it winner final? I forgot which match, but all throughout top 8 it was so loud, it was so noisy. We were all shouting, people were shouting knee, they're all shouting their names. Like the commentators were all like saying cool stuff, doing their job as commentators. And I remember I was right beside Matthew, and there was that little split second, I think maybe 10 seconds of just
like,
complete, just you hear just two Tekken characters hitting each other, blocking, and that's it. And we're talking about a room filled with.
It just goes dead
We're
silent.
talking about a room filled with people, and it was quiet for 10 seconds. For 10
in a fighting game
long
is forever.
seconds. Yeah, and I just nudged Matthew.
I swear to God, I swear to God, the match went in slow motion when that happened. You could hear heartbeats.
And it was just like at that moment we were all in tune because we were all just locked in. We were just literally locked in on what was going on and how intense it was. Thinking about it now, that's probably one of the best moments I had. Aside from like me bringing back, going back to grand finals to go against JDCR, bring in Brian and all that. That small little silence because you can tell that everybody was just glued. No one was talking.
Nobody was breathing throughout that entire like finals.
It was electrifying. For those that were there, I'm sure you guys would understand as well. It was such a good event. I don't know, more power to the community because I think Playbook involved, everybody involved, Bandai, being really supportive of the community here. Kudos to them because I would definitely like to see more of this in every fighting game that we have. Because based on what we saw, based on the Filipino community, we're a pretty passionate bunch. We loved the fact that JDCR was here. We loved the fact that who's that girl?
Tanukana. Cyclops
Tanukana showed up. Like a lot of people were fans of hers. A lot of people were fans of Neil. A lot of people were fans of Saint, Nobi, Dimebag. I think Dimebag was the Asuka.
Yeah, the Asuka player.
And everything. They were all just, going, approaching them.
Getting autographs and
all
photos
saying yes
with them.
to autographs, taking photos and everything. Tanukana had a fucking line.
She had a line
for signing.
Yeah, for signing that went on for like more than an hour. I remember Markman tweeted that.
It was going to, Markman tweeted that, and it was like about to like curve. It's about to take a Yui. It was
I think most of the international players didn't even know they had like a huge fan following here because when Knee won that won the losers match to get him back to grand finals,
right,
and the crowd cheered, Knee had like the most surprised look on his face with how loud the crowd was cheering. I think there's a photo of that somewhere.
Tweets. Yeah, and there were tweets of like the players that were in top 8 saying that how they were surprised, or rather just the international players. They're just surprised on how loved the community is in terms of like of Tekken. Like they love the fact that there's so many passionate Tekken players here that just they know them. They want to watch them. They've been watching them for quite a while, and they're super surprised and super stoked. And I don't know, just all good stuff all around for REV Majors. Man. So that happened. All of the big matches can be found in Playbook's YouTube channel and in Twitch. You guys have to check it out. It was really exciting.
Usually in like a sports or competitive environment, once your country is out, like
that
I guess in most cases the crowd would just not cheer as loudly.
Right.
But like, I think that's what's surprising the international players here. That even if there are no Filipino players left in like top 8, if you put on a good show on stream, you're gonna fucking cheer.
Yeah. For sure.
That's how hype works.
It's like this is not NBA where like it's like 20 points and you have like 1 minute left and all the fans of LA just leave in the LA court because their team's about to lose. No, this is not. This is like.
Well, I don't
end.
mean to be pedantic about this, but like I think the nature of fighting games is that it's all different individuals versus different individuals. It's not about the away team, the visiting team versus the home team.
Right.
So everybody's got every Filipino or everybody who lives in the Philippines who's got a stake or an interest in the game, is invested in a way that transcends, just rooting for a favorite, local player, but like, all the players that they respect or admire, throughout the tournament.
And I think that's also obvious also when we also covered the Manila Majors for like Dota 2 and all that. Because we don't have like big local tournaments or local teams making it in top, right? They get eliminated eventually, like even the earlier stages of that specific like Dota 2 game. But the crowd is just as excited and thrilled to have to watch them live and everything. So we're just, I think just in general we're just very we're just a great crowd. I think that's just what we are. I think just a Filipino community in any game.
We're also very modest.
Yeah, we're just really an awesome crowd. That's just what we are. We're just an awesome group of bunch of people. I don't know. I just can't wait for the next one. REV Majors 2017.
What's the next one? Evo and then Manila Cup?
Yes, Evo is next weekend. If you guys are listening in this, because this is being recorded on July 10. Next one should be in the weekend. Evo, which is technically the biggest tournament in fighting games. So if Matthew, if you're hype, or if you're already in, this whole esports when it comes to fighting games, Evo's the one to watch because that's where you see the best of the best in every single game. But there you go. REV Majors.
Did REV Major got me pumped, got me psyched for fighting games. Let's have a podcasters tournament or something.
Yeah, or
bibilin Tekken 7.
But I think the biggest one, correct me if I'm wrong, I'll have to double check. It's on the top of my head. Manila Cup is the next local, like the big local event coming up.
Yes, and that is for the Capcom Pro Tour. So it's going to be Street Fighter 5 on the main stage for that.
Yeah, Street Fighter 5 will be the center one there, but of course Tekken 7 will be also included, as well as the other games.
Oh yeah, so all the other fighting games will be there too for us. But for the international players that hopefully will come for Capcom Pro Tour, it's going to be Street Fighter 5 for Manila Cup.
Going to be hype. And I think that's it. This episode is literally focused on the REV Majors because we were pretty hype. If you have any thoughts, especially on what you like, we were talking about a while ago about why we thought fighting games struggle to be in that competitive or esports level in the early days. We put our thoughts. We'd like to hear yours as well. But yeah, this is all focused on REV Majors for now. This episode, we have an episode every week. We'll have a new one next week as well, so do look out for that one. Do subscribe, TMG Podcast on iTunes and Podomatic. And if you have any concerns, questions, or clarifications with what we talked about at this episode, do contact us at contact@toomuchgamingLP.net. Thanks, Miggy.
Yo.
Thanks, Matthew.
Yo.
And thanks for whoever's listening. I'll check you guys out next week.
Peace, guys.
Bye.
See ya.